Hi guys, so this will be the final separation update. Rain has brought to my attention that she no longer wants to be discussed or brought up or mentioned or anything.
We laughed it off when they told us about Noah Brown. The warning seems like a sign that we didn't listen to. People all over the world were interested in the Brown family's rough and uncertain life in Alaska. Every hunt, storm, and wildfire was a test of their ability to stay alive. Noah was the quiet genius who could use junk to come up with answers, the one that fans thought would never get into trouble. But people have been making guesses about him from the beginning. These early rumors don't sound like rumors. Were those early doubts the truth that we don't want to face? There is a history of problems with the Brown family that will show what is really going on. There were problems with the Alaskan Bush people. The reality TV show, Alaskan Bush People, which airs on the Discovery Channel, has been popular since its premiere in 2014 because it shows a unique way of life. Lots of people think that the Brown family's life is different from current life because of how they lived. Their decisions and actions have caused a lot of disagreement, and some people aren't sure how true to life their on-screen lives really are. Public incidents and the way they act when they feel alone have kept them in the public eye for a long time. There have been claims that some scenes in the show were fake. The family has also been in trouble with the law, which makes people wonder how closely they are connected to life in the Alaskan woods. Look at the most talked about choices the Browns made to get a better sense of the less well-known parts of the show. This will help you understand why Alaskan Bush people are still a controversial topic in reality TV, and why Noah Brown is now at the center of a lot of problems. Many people in the Brown family were charged with theft in 2014 in relation to the Alaska Permanent Fund Dividend Program. Billy Brown, Joshua Bam Bam Brown, and other people were accused of lying and saying they lived in Alaska when they actually lived somewhere else. It was decided by the court that the family did not deserve the thousands of dollars in earnings they got. Billy and Joshua both admitted to second-degree felony lying under oath. The judge gave each man a 30-day jail term and told them they had to do community service. Because of this event, people started to wonder how long the family really spent in Alaska and whether the life shown on the show was like real life. In 2020, there were more legal battles than just fraud charges. Bill Brown and the production company were sued by Alaska Wilderness Family Productions and Robert Mahon. The cases included things like breach of contract and other things. Mahon said the show's makers didn't share the money they agreed to make from the Alaskan Bush people. Besides that, he said there was a deal for payment when his intellectual property was used. There were records that showed the amount in question was more than $500,000. The case brought attention to how complicated reality TV business deals can be and raised questions about how open and trustworthy partners should be with each other. A lot of these kinds of lawsuits end in private deals, and the results aren't always made public. Bear Brown got into trouble with the law in March 2022 because of things going on in his personal life. Raven Adams, his ex-girlfriend, asked for a restraining order because she said he was making threats and acting unstably. It got to the court's attention, and Bear was put in jail for a short time. A lot of people read about it, and it added to the public argument about how the family acts when they're not in front of the cameras. Some court issues related to restraining orders and personal disagreements are still open, as shown by records. These issues are handled with care because they are sensitive. People have talked a lot about the Brown family, both for their way of life and for the choices they made while making the show. Family fights and disagreements. There have been times of conflict and questions asked about the truth of what is shown on TV because of problems with bad habits and problems with the network. On and off screen, family relationships have been stressful a lot of the time. Arguments between brothers and problems with how Billy and Amy raised their kids caused emotional scenes that made viewers feel very strongly. The stresses of living away from modern life and shooting all the time sometimes made it clear that unity wasn't always present. Some of the kids were unhappy with their jobs or the way the family was going, especially as they got older and thought about other options. These fights sometimes showed up on social media or in interviews, which led to more rumors about deeper problems. Many watchers wondered if all the drama on the show was real or just made up for fun, even though these scenes were part of the story. The eldest son, Matt Brown, had a problem with drinking that became public when he quit the show in 2016. People were worried and speculated about why he left. Matt later revealed that he had gone to rehab to deal with his drinking. As a public person, this was a big deal for him and his family. The show talked about his loss in a few limited ways and sometimes chose not to go into it in more depth. His recovery was a touchy subject, and public reports showed that he had problems with his family and times when he shut himself off. His drug abuse became one of the most talked about and important issues involving the Browns. There were times when the Brown family and Discovery Channel teams didn't agree on what to film or how to show their lives on the show. There were times when they spoke out against scenes or ideas that they thought invaded their privacy or were against their beliefs. People who were close to the show say that there were talks and fights about who would control the end story. This happened more and more as the show became more popular, and there was more pressure to shape certain storylines. People talked about how parts of Alaskan bush people were planned or changed because of these disagreements. This made it hard for watchers to tell the line between real life and production. There were doubts from the start about how completely the Browns lived away from modern life. Some viewers have said that some important scenes, like making shelters, hunting, or going through tough situations, looked like they were staged. Some critics pointed to times when team members or outside workers were thought to have helped the family, like when they were building their famous homestead, Browntown. It was said that the Browns didn't always live in the Alaskan wilderness, but sometimes they lived in homes or hotels like the Icy Strait Lodge. People also said they had seen the family shopping or using technology when they weren't recording. Even though they had some really tough times, the constant presence of cameras, crew, and planned production made a lot of people question how much of what they showed really happened. The Browns' interactions with people in the area also called the idea that they lived completely alone into question. Locals said they had seen the family in shops and other places in town, even though the show made them seem like they didn't belong. There were also reports of their kids going to nearby schools and the family going to public events. Browntown was supposed to represent independence, but the fact that they stayed in nicer places and used local resources made some people question whether the way of life they showed on the show was really how they lived. Their health issues were also told to the public. The head of the family, Billy Brown, was told he had lung cancer, which had a huge impact on their lives. The family focused on his care and treatment, and the show closely followed that time. Different viewers had different reactions. Some felt sorry for them, while others wondered if such private times should be shown on TV. In 2021, Billy died. It was a terrible loss for the family and a turning point in the show's history. The show also showed accidents and other dangerous events, like blasts. Some of these caused people to go to the hospital and have long-term health problems. People said the risks were made to look worse than they really were, or that safety rules weren't followed, but they also became big stories. These events added to the ongoing discussion about how correct and responsible the show was in showing what happened. People also paid attention to how the family moved from place to place. In 2017, Amy Brown was told she had lung cancer. To get her treatment at the University of California, Los Angeles Medical Center, they left Alaska. After that, they made their home in Washington State. Because of medical needs, this change affected their way of life and made people wonder more about their off-grid image. But Noah Brown is at the center of all of these bad things that happen. One that no one saw coming. Moving away from the family farm. One of the 7 kids on the Discovery Channel show Alaskan Bush People was Noah Brown. He was known as the creative and thoughtful one in the family. Since its start in 2014, the show has been following the Browns as they lived in the woods of Alaska and then in the state of Washington. Because of personal goals, natural disasters, changes in family ties, and the need to be independent, he chose to leave the family farm. This choice came about over time, and it showed that he wanted to live a different life than the one his family was living. Moving to Colorado to live on his own in 2019 was an early sign that he was becoming more independent. Part of the reason for this was to get some alone time and get away from being close to family. The homestead shown on TV as a place of survival and togetherness could also feel crowded if a lot of family members lived there. News stories say that Noah stayed in a guest house on the property for a while after being told to leave the main family area. He had time to think about his place in the family and who he was when he wasn't living with other people all the time. A wildfire on Palmer Mountain also did a lot of damage to the Browns Ranch in Washington in 2020. Years of work went into making buildings and things that were lost. Their lives were turned upside down by the fire, which was also hard on their emotions. It made Noah consider how dangerous the farm could be and how to rebuild in his own unique way. He moved into a rented home after the fire while he thought about his long-term plans. The accident made him even more sure that he needed a safe, independent place to live. These changes were made even bigger when Billy Brown died in 2021. Bill had been in charge of the family and had shaped how they lived in the bush. The brothers' relationships changed after he died, and there was a hole in the family. Noah was very sad about this loss because he had always been artistic and useful. It made him think about starting a new life where he could follow his dad's rules and grow in his own way. The homestead became a place that made him think of his pain, and getting away from it helped him start to heal. Noah had gone back to Alaska by 2023. He made this choice on his own because he missed living on his own like he did as a child and wanted to build that life back up on his own. Alaska gave him a fresh start, far from the burned-out land in Washington and the changes in his family. He likes having his own place and time because it works well with his creative work with mechanics and inventions. But he may have chosen to live alone because he and his wife had different ideas about how the family should live and what the future holds for them. This way, he could avoid arguments and follow his own plans. Several parts of the show showed how independent Noah was. He looked for homes and made big choices during storms in later seasons, which showed that he was ready to live away from his family. He helped other bush families a lot, even when it meant changing his own plans. This showed that he could use what he had learned to reach his own goals. He wasn't running away from his past when he left the farm. It was just the next step in his journey to use his skills in his own unique way. Noah Brown's choice to leave was affected by both outside events and his own wants. He had time to think while he was in Colorado. The blaze in 2020 and the death of his father made the need for change even stronger. Moving back to Alaska in 2023 was a sign of his search for security and freedom. By leaving, he stuck to the principles he had been taught, but in a way that worked for him. His life showed how family bonds can change over time, and how making your own space can help keep those connections alive. Besides leaving the farm, he had legal problems with his brother that led to sibling rivalry and legal problems for his brother. Alicia Brown, Noah Brown's ex-wife, and Rain Brown, his wife, asked for an order of protection against Noah's sister, Merry Christmas, Catherine Raindrop Rain Brown, on August 5, 2024. The United States Sun said that the couple asked for help because they were being harassed in a way that was against the law. They claimed that Rain stalked them and made violent threats, including threats with a gun or other weapon, which they said caused a lot of mental distress. In court papers, Noah talked about a number of claimed events involving his sister. He said Rain told him in July 2022, "My life would be so much easier if you were dead. I believe my gun is in my room. If only I hadn't been caught." A different event from May 2023 was also talked about by Noah. He was helping the family move horses to their North Star Ranch. According to him, one of the horses looked like it wasn't getting enough food. Also, one of the horses fell in the trailer and couldn't get up on her own because Rain and their sister Snowbird wouldn't listen to his advice about how to move horses properly. Noah said that she would rather the horse die than listen to him when he told her what he needed to do to help it. She also said she would get her gun if he didn't wait in his truck. Noah said he stayed in his truck for the rest of the time. The next day, he found out that the horse had died. Noah also said that Rain drank beer and used drugs like cocaine and methamphetamine. He said that in December 2023, Rain gave their mother, Amy Brown, cocaine to help her with a headache. Noah and Rain asked the court in their plea to make Rain give up all of her guns, stop her from getting any more, and stop her from having any kind of contact with them, direct or indirect, even through other people. They also told her she couldn't be more than 1,000 feet away from them or say anything bad about them online. Soap Opera Spy says that Rain didn't file her own court response, but she did talk about it in public in December 2024. In an Instagram video that has since been taken down, she said, "Honestly, his little sister who struggles with mental health and suicidal thoughts should be the last person he would attack." Everyone have a great day. Remember that God and Jesus think you are perfect, so don't let anyone make you feel like you're not worth anything. If something is making him strike out, I only pray that it gets better. I'm sorry, Noah, but you no longer like me. Still, have a wonderful Christmas. Noah's request for a protection order was turned down in September 2024. Online records showed that InTouch was right when they said the court said the petition was missing important details and wasn't backed up by a properly sent declaration. Documents showed that the petition was mostly blank, with only references to see declaration of Noah Brown. They also said that the events mentioned happened too long ago to allow a temporary restraining order to be issued without telling Rain. The court said that the same thing would happen if the case was sent again without these problems being fixed. There was no sign that Rain or Noah sent their request again. The siblings' saga was in the news again in the early months of 2025. Noah Brown from the TV show Alaskan Bush People called the cops to ask them to check on his mother, Amy Brown, and his sister, Merry Christmas Catherine Raindrop, also known as Rain Brown. He said they were high on methamphetamine just a few days before Rain was caught for breaking and entering. Court papers seen by the United States Sun on April 28, 2025, show that Noah told police that his mother was staying at a cabin in Liar's Cove with Rain and Rain's boyfriend, Josiah Lorton. He said that after getting what he called a jumbled message from his mother the night before, he knew she had been drinking a lot and was now getting methamphetamine from Rain and Josiah. On April 7th, police did the safety check. Noah told them that his 61-year-old mother was not taking her medicine as recommended and that her health was getting worse. InTouch had earlier said that Amy was flown to a hospital on February 13th for treatment and was later found to have pneumonia. According to court papers, Rain was stopping her mother from taking her medicine, and Josiah had guns, even though he wasn't supposed to. On April 8th, police told Noah that they had not been able to call his mother, but had reason to think she might be with Rain, who is 22 years old, and Josiah. Noah told the cops that Rain often didn't take her medicine because she thought that anyone who tried to make her do so was trying to hurt her. He also said that Josiah always had a gun with him. Noah also said that Rain had a gun that he had given him. He didn't want to say that it was stolen, but he did tell the police to be careful around her. Along with her husband, Josiah Lorton, Rain Brown was caught and charged with first-degree burglary and first-degree malicious mischief on April 11th, 2025. The time InTouch confirmed this. Also charged was second-degree criminal mischief. The person used to work for Discovery Channel. They were taken to the Okanogan County Jail in Washington State and booked. After that, on April 14th, 2025, they were both freed without bond. Not much was said about what led to their arrest at the time. But on May 2nd, 2025, court records from InTouch confirmed that they were arrested after being accused of stealing $75,000 in cash, guns, and other things from Josiah's uncle, Jason Ehrt. Rain went to court on April 28, 2025 through Zoom. She pleaded not guilty to all charges. Josiah also said he wasn't guilty of everything. Both of them are set to go back to court in May 2025. On April 19, 2025, Rain talked about it on Instagram, but it wasn't clear if she was talking about the attack. It said, "Do not judge, lest you be judged, for with the judgment you judge, you will be judged." So she put up that verse. In the caption, she said it broke her heart that her fans believed the lies she told about her former boss, whom she said stole $43,000 from her and treated her badly. She hoped that people would wait to hear her side of the story. She finished her message by saying, "God bless you all." In addition to the legal problems his brothers were having, Noah was also having personal problems. This led to the sad separation, which was a surprise to everyone. Noah Brown hasn't talked much about his personal life or his family. Alaskan bush people often saw him as the family's creative genius. Some people thought he was like Dr. Frankenstein without the monster because cameras often caught him working on different gadgets. Some watchers were curious at the start of the show about how the Brown kids would find partners. Noah was known for being passionate, and he never gave up on finding love. Noah met Rain Alicia while they were still living in Alaska. He had written to her and asked her to come to Browntown. In 2018, they got married in front of just 25 people, mostly family and close friends. People magazine asked Noah at the time how excited they were to start their life together as husband and wife, and how they couldn't wait to make memories as a family. He thanked everyone for their love and support. Noah's sisters, Bird Brown and Rain Brown, did not like the rain. Rain didn't like that Rain changed her name when she moved to the mountain. Ruth Alicia Merrill was Rain's birth name. She grew up in Oregon, which made some people feel like she didn't fit. Even though Noah and Bird had always been close, things got rough when his sister married his brother. Noah did try to make things better, though, by making Bird the godmother of his son, Eli Brown. In the year 1999, Noah and Rain chose to move to Colorado to spend some time away from their family. Noah recently told Rain that he and Rain have chosen to spend some time apart, even though they have moved away from the family farm. It was a message on his Instagram account that said they wanted people to hear it from them. They agreed to split up after 6 years of marriage. While the news was being made, Noah told Rain that he had been asked to leave and was now living in their guest house. He told him he could still see their 2 boys, Eli and Adam, but he had to text first to make sure it was okay. Rain also said that being away can make you love someone more, and she thought of times when Noah had gone back to Alaska. That's all she said about it. They had a lot to work through. Rain also said that they weren't there to say bad things about each other, and that they were working together to solve the problem. She thought Noah was healthier now that he lived alone and set his own hours, and she wasn't putting her worry on him anymore. As well, she said she felt better at home where she could do things without having to ask Noah for help. She said Noah still spent a lot of time with the kids. In the second part of their news, Noah didn't say much, but he did say that he would try to keep people up to date as they move through their split. Rain then said she wouldn't be sharing any more news. Even though bad things have happened to the Brown family, the reality show has left a lasting impression that speaks to the diversity of American society, what the Alaskan bush people left behind. Alaskan Bush People was the first reality TV show to show how to survive in the wilderness while also keeping close family ties. It set the standard for other shows that show life outside of towns. The style of extreme lifestyle shows became more famous because of it, giving ideas for similar shows that focus on tough freedom. People were still interested in stories about people building homes, getting food, and dealing with nature's problems after 14 seasons. The death of Billy Brown made the show more emotional, and special episodes were made to remember his ideas about freedom and adventure. In American stories about sticking with something, themes like heritage and loss come up again and again. In a way similar to older American stories about pioneers, this made the show more personal, changing it from a public show into a reflection of strong family bonds during hard times. The show uses the frontier story, which comes from the idea of moving westward and the pioneer way of life, to connect with parts of American identity. By showing the Browns as separate from modern conveniences, it speaks to a desire for a simpler life in comparison to cities that are growing and consumer culture. In a time of uncertain finances and heavy use of technology, the show gave viewers a way to escape by showing life in the woods as liberating rather than stressful. In the real world, there are movements toward homesteading and sustainable living. These became more obvious after the 2008 financial crisis and again during the COVID-19 pandemic, when a lot of people moved to rural areas. In episodes about land disputes, the Browns focus on trading, getting the most of resources, and speaking out against the government is similar to ideas of personal independence found in some American political thought. This shows the tension between freedom and social rules. A lot of people changed how they think about rural America and native Alaskan customs because of the show. Not always in ways that are agreed upon. It brought more people to Alaska by making the state's landscapes look exciting and interesting, which led to more people going on national parks and remote trips. But it was criticized for making local skills from groups like the Tlingit and Yupik peoples too easy to understand or giving them the wrong impression. Some said it kept up the picture of the wild frontier, not taking into account the realities of modern indigenous life and the unequal distribution of power in media creation. There are bigger problems in America with how culture is shown, where strong stories often take the place of lagging voices, which leads to debates about how fair and accurate entertainment is. The show also talked a lot about how important families are to American life. The Browns' close relationships, even when they didn't agree, showed strength and unity. These are values that are cherished in American culture, from the Ingalls family in Little House on the Prairie to prepper groups today. But there were doubts about what was shown. Some said parts were staged, and the family really did live closer to towns than they were shown. This showed how fuzzy the lines are in reality TV. People's worries about the media showed a larger lack of trust in society, similar to arguments about fake news and less faith in institutions. Legal problems, like fraud charges against family members, showed that what was shown was not at all what happened. This shows that the picture of survival can meet the challenges of how people act in the real world. The show had both economic and social effects on the places where it was filmed. It created jobs while it was being made, but it also put some stress on small towns. Cast members like Rain Brown talking about worry brought mental health into the public eye, which fits with America's growing interest in health and well-being in isolation. At the end of the day, Alaskan Bush people is still talked about across the country because it brought together issues of freedom, family, and culture, continuing the long-standing American interest in starting over in the wild. Do you think that the problem in the Brown family made Noah break up with his wife? Leave a review and tell us what you think. Thanks for seeing it. Please give this station a like, share it, and subscribe to it. Watch the other videos on your screen before you leave.